Welcome to Family Search Live. This is a special edition. My name is Jonathan Gustavson. I'm a product manager. I'm here with two excellent folks from Family Search, Kayla and Thom, good friends. And you can see Wendy's picture here. She's given us the opportunity for us three to speak today because we are here to talk about Black History Month, one of the awesomest, best months of the year. Super excited. Let's just take a few minutes. If you would, Kayla, do you mind just introducing yourself briefly, your role?
For sure.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so I am a marketing coordinator here at Family Search. I work really closely with the African Heritage team. I joined Family Search in 2017, first as an intern and then as a full-time employee. I'm living in Salt Lake City, but I'm originally from Washington, D.C., so the Maryland side of the D.C. area.
Awesome. And Thom, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role as well?
Well, Kayla had a great boss when she first started at Family Search, if I must say.
Thom was my boss. And he was great. It's true. It's very true.
We had a good time. But Thom Reed, my title is Deputy Chief Genealogical Officer. I know that's a mouthful. But basically, I'm responsible for our outreach and connection with the professional genealogical community and with societies and various groups that focus on people of African descent. So I'm part of the African Heritage team, as is Kayla, as you are, Jonathan. I've been with Family Search for 7 years. It's been a great 7 years, done lots of awesome, fun stuff. Originally grew up in a town next to you, Jonathan. And
absolutely.
Grew up in Normal, Illinois. Now we've got the band back together again out here. But live in South Jordan, Utah. So just a suburb of Salt Lake City. And unfortunately, not in the Family History Library, although my virtual background is from the Family History Library. But we'll talk about like what things people can access from the Family History Library, even though we're not open fully to patrons and things like that right now. But just happy to be here and happy to be celebrating Black History Month with y'all.
Awesome. Awesome. Just to say a few personal things about myself, and then Kayla, I want to ask you a few as well. Yeah. So I've been at Family Search about 1.5 years. I am an experience manager or product manager with the African Heritage segment. So for me, that's the privilege of working on genealogy in Africa and in the Caribbean and in the United States. For anybody descended from Africa, it's just a dream position for me. I love it. Just on a personal level, I've got, a couple kids, and one's already almost an adult, surprisingly, which is the weirdest thing in the world. Anyway, so enough about me. Kayla, so how did you, super curious, right? How did you make this journey to like being interested in genealogy? What brought you personally to genealogy?
So it's interesting, really my first big exposure was joining Family Search, and I came to Family Search not with the intention to be a genealogist. I still would not consider myself a genealogist, but I had a really big desire to understand my identity. And I think a lot of us do, I specifically, I'm biracial, my dad is Black and my mom is white. And so I've just in my life growing up have been trying to figure out, where do I fit? And one of the things that I noticed was family history does a wonderful job in helping you understand who you are by looking to your past and connecting to your ancestors and learning of their stories. And so that's one of the reasons I love working at Family Search, is it's so much more, although so important, than names, dates, and records. It's these stories that can bring strength and resiliency to you.
That's awesome.
As you go through your life. Yeah.
That's awesome. So let me ask Thom on this. Kayla was mentioning stories. I love that. Is there an experience that you've learned about, maybe from a parent or a relative or any of your predecessors, a family story that gives you strength, that buoys you up, or just any cool family story about your family?
Well, so the one thing is although I wish I could trace my lineage back to Africa, I'm still stuck in Mississippi and Alabama.
Yeah.
That's where my grandfather was born, actually in Marengo County, Alabama, which is kind of rural Alabama. And, I've been kind of tracing his lineage. I found my great grandfather, but I'm kind of at a dead end there. And so I actually had this cool experience. I think I might've shared before, where I actually went down my great grandfather, Ed Reed, married a woman by the name of Arlevia Pruitt. And there is a Pruitt cemetery in Marengo County near this little town of Hoboken and between Nicholsville. And it's on a Google map, and all it is a pin. And a year and a half ago, I went down to Alabama to try and find this cemetery.
Oh, and how was that? You went down to see it. How was that? That's amazing.
It was crazy. It was hot. I had to kind of, it's now, you know, the land is owned by a lumber company. And so I actually had to go on their land to try and find it. It was heavily wooded. I was getting scratched up by all kinds of stuff, but I got there and I found this one headstone. Now, it wasn't a family member, but it was like just knowing that somebody in my family had been memorialized. I don't know how they're connected to me, but they're connected to me somehow. And
how did you feel seeing that when you found that?
It was just like, wow, these are my people. Like somebody cared enough about my ancestors to memorialize them so that I would have the privilege today to see them, to connect with them in this way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So just this week, I saw a headstone for my aunt. I knew her. We called her Aunt Annie. I'd never seen her headstone. It popped up on, I can't remember where it popped up. It might have been Find a Grave, but I was like, that's my aunt's headstone. I knew her. Like it was such a moment. So I can relate to what you're talking about, where you see something symbolic and representative of your people. That is awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks for introducing yourselves and sharing a little bit. So I want to just introduce the bulk of our program, and then we'll jump in. So we're going to talk about Black History Month and some things that FamilySearch is doing for Black History Month. We'll talk about some resources available, both for those who are beginning, those who are more advanced, those who are intermediates. We'll talk about what's new that's either coming or has recently been released. And also we would love, as we go through, we would love to hear your questions so we can make this, you know, as much of an interactive dialogue as we can. So with that, let's start Black History Month. Let's start on the personal level. So what are you doing, or what have you done to celebrate Black History Month? Kayla.
Okay, Black History Month, I feel like has always been a big part of my family. And so I'm going to share something that we've done, and I know that they're continuing to do, even though I don't live at home with my parents anymore, is every single February, my dad, he'd pull out these cards. They were laminated pages. And on one side was a picture of a prominent Black man or woman. And then on the other side was like a little synopsis or a biography. And so what we did as a family every Sunday after dinner is we would take these cards, each person would be assigned an individual, and we talk about them. And the reason that my dad did this was because he feels so strongly, and I as well, that you need to hear these stories of the positive contributions and the resiliency of prominent Black men and women, that they were been able to overcome challenges and barriers and make contributions to society that are positive. And that if they can do that, the moral of the story after every conversation was, why can't we? And so that's something that I love, like learning history. And I love that my dad always instilled that within us, to know of Black people that have made positive contributions, because there's so many of them.
Awesome. Awesome. So Thom, let me pivot on that from what Kayla was saying. Is there somebody in Black history that you really look up to and admire?
Ooh, for me,
that's a good question.
Who in Black history do I admire? I mean, there's so many prominent, figures in Black history. Obviously, we hear about, Martin Luther King Jr. We hear about Malcolm X. For me, probably the one would be Frederick Douglass, right? And for me, part of it is the connection with one of the projects I did at FamilySearch over, that included the Freedmen's Bank, and he was the president of the bank for a little while and tried to help, Blacks who had been emancipated, put their money in a bank and start to earn money and things like that. And so that's maybe not many people know that about Frederick Douglass and his role in the Freedmen's Bank and helping to create Black wealth immediately after the Civil War. And so, like, just if you put me on the spot, I got to stick with my man Frederick Douglass. And he had, like, in the pictures, like, dude got like some just awesome hair. He's
great
got
hair,
a beautiful coif.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So let's talk now. Let's talk about the FamilySearch Black History Month hub page. Black History Month hub page.
Okay, I would love to share my screen and show everyone. We wanted to create a place on the FamilySearch website, on the blog, to be a place where there are so many different resources available for those interested in celebrating Black history and connecting with their heritage. So if you go to familysearch.org/Black History Month, this is the page that will pull up. Let's see, can you all see this?
Yes, can't quite see the title, but we can see
you can see the frame. Okay, so this is what the top of the page looks like. I'm just going to briefly go through just some of the resources that are available. But the first thing that you'll see is there's an opportunity for you all to register for RootsTech. We'll talk about this several times, but it's super exciting that Black History Month gets to coincide with our RootsTech celebration. And so as such, we wanted to make sure that it was a priority to make RootsTech an inclusive experience. So you can register for RootsTech. It's a free conference. It's virtual. And in mid-February, when classes are released, we will be listing all of the classes available pertaining to African American and African heritage genealogy. So there will be over 40 classes. We're super excited about that. Another resource is the Getting Started guide that we have for those that are beginners to family history, specifically African American genealogy. You can download this guide. It's PDF, it's free. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on as well.
Kayla, can I interrupt for just a second?
For sure, yes.
If people are trying to follow along on this page, you mentioned the URL, but could you just mention that one more time?
Yes, it is FamilySearch.org/Black History Month. And I believe they will be posting that in the comments as well for you to look at. Yes.
Thank you.
So there's a chance for you to search for African heritage records. We've compiled 68 different record collections pertaining to African American genealogy for you to search for your ancestors. And then there's 4 different blog articles for you and your family to learn about different components of Black History Month, learn about prominent Black Americans that have made positive contributions to society. So there's a lot on here. And we just encourage you to go check it out. Let your friends and family know that this is a resource available to help you celebrate this month of Black history.
I want to give a shout out. I'll scroll back down on the page for me, Kayla, if you can, to one of the articles that's down there. Our team did a lot of these articles, and you personally, and I want to thank you for the efforts you've made, Kayla, in making this page available and bringing attention to Black history and the link between Black history and personal history. But the Black History Month is for Everyone is an article by one of our partners. So a good friend of mine, Paula Matabane, lives in Atlanta, and she wrote this article kind of really talking about why everyone should celebrate Black History Month and how people can celebrate Black History Month, even if you aren't Black per se. So I encourage people, obviously, check out the hub page and all the resources, sign up for RootsTech Connect, search the 68 collections, get us Getting Started guide, read about activities, but also take some time if you really want to know Black History Month. I have a lot of people who come to me and say, what can I do to better, to have a better Black History Month experience or to teach my kids and my family? And this is one of those resources that we've put out on behalf of FamilySearch for folks to do that.
Oh, I love that. I love that idea. Let me just say one thing on that. So when I moved out here, I live in Utah now, and where I grew up was great. But one of the things about being out here was, surprisingly, there were a lot of cultures. And, like sometimes I might get the question, if I'm not Black, why would I, worry about Black History Month? But for me, as I started to learn a little bit about, I met some people who were from Thailand, and I met some people who were Polynesian. And it's my personal experience in life is enriched by getting to know other cultures. And so, if Black History Month is new to you, maybe you've never really thought about it, this article is a great place to start. And, everybody's human, and we share that human connection, so that as you learn a little bit about Black history and Black heritage, I bet your life will be uplifted. So give it a click.
Yes.
Kayla, anything else you want to say here about the Black History Month hub page?
No, just that I'm looking in the comments and I'm seeing a lot of positive responses. Clara said, this is great. This is the help that I need. We've had several people talk about how they're registered for RootsTech and planning on attending. So this is great. Yeah, please use this as a resource for you and your family and friends.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
stop sharing.
Great. Well, so let's talk next about resources available from FamilySearch. So this is like if you're getting started, if you're working on a project, or if you're advanced and you want to know what's going on, this is a great opportunity. Here you may want to take notes if you haven't, but I'm super excited. Let's talk about resources for beginners. Who wants to take the Getting Started guide?
I can do beginners, and then we'll
Okay.
have Thom do the more advanced, because I am not.
Okay.
I am not advanced. I'm a hobbyist at most. So just like I mentioned on the Black History Month hub page, familysearch.org/Black History Month, we have compiled a Getting Started guide. It's in PDF format, and it's just 10 steps to what we've called reclaiming your African roots. So we want to help people who maybe feel overwhelmed, they don't know where to start. This is a great resource to just kind of take you step by step on working towards filling out your family history and genealogy.
Awesome. So let me ask you, Kayla, when you were working, or when you were starting out on your genealogy, what was one of the first obstacles you faced, and how did you get past that?
Yeah. So I think like many people, you're just really overwhelmed. I think our first inclination is, when we get started with family history, okay, I'm going to go on, I'm going to create an account, and I need to start adding names to the tree. And there are so many awesome resources at FamilySearch, but I felt like I came to the website not with certain pieces of information. And so one of the things that I realized, and as I was creating this guide and working with members of our team and genealogists and enthusiasts to come up with something, is the realization that the best way to get started on your family history is to start with you. Start with yourself. How are you recording your own personal history? And then move on to your living relatives. Talk to your parents, your siblings, your cousins, your uncles, and your aunts, because they have all of these great stories and they have a wealth of information. And as you talk to them, you may pick up bits and tidbits of, maybe it's a name or a date that will help you to add names to the tree. So you'll notice on our Getting Started guide, when it comes to starting an account, that is step 4 out of 10. So the first 3 steps are really focused on having those conversations with those that you know, starting with what you know, taking the time to write in a journal and see where are some gaps and who can I go to talk to and get more.
Okay, let me say one thing on that. This starting with you. So in my job, I get to interview a lot of people, like market research. And one of the things I saw, I just remember this so clearly. We were in the Sacramento, California area doing interviews about family history, and over I heard people say, "My life's not important. I'm trying to learn about my predecessors, my ancestors, but my life is not important." And there was just this feeling that, oh, I won't record stuff about me because I'm not important. But they were so interested in their mother, so interested in their grandfather. And so getting started with yourself, it really is important. Like your kids, perhaps, or nieces and nephews, or whomever it is, in your family that gets the genealogy bug, they would love to know, probably in the future, but they would love to know, what obstacles did you face? What were your favorite foods? What type of work did you do? Like some of those key details, as well as the genealogical details that will help build the tree, that they can kind of springboard off of about you. Awesome.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
love that. I would just say to that too, when it comes to recording your own personal history, sometimes we just think just a paper journal. But one of the things that I love to do is on my computer, I have a photo booth and I will record a video, talk to the camera for even just like 60 seconds to give an update on my life. And it's been kind of fun to go back and to watch those and see where I am. So you can get really creative in the way that you record your own personal history. And just like you said, Jonathan, like people will value that. You will value it looking back and seeing how far you've come, and any future posterity or friends and family that you have that you want to share it with.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so shall we talk about, well, before we talk about the intermediate, let's just check in. Were there any beginner type questions or any questions on the Getting Started guide that we want to address right now?
So I'm seeing one question, And it's actually a really great question to the segue. If people have any questions for beginners, please, I'll be scrolling through and looking. But one individual said, but what if you can't have those conversations? So your parents are no longer around, grandparents not around, aunts and uncles, all of them are gone. Thom, do you want to answer that question, or Jonathan?
Yeah, no, so we, in the genealogy community, we have this principle called the FAN principle, the friends, associates, and neighbors, right? So you might not have family around, but I remember after my mom passed away, having a conversation with her best friend from high school and learning more about my mom that I didn't know, because I never talked to this woman. She was my mama's best friend. So, you know, as a young man, that wasn't appropriate to ask her all these questions about my mom. But when my mom passed, being able to ask Janice Taylor about my mother and the things that she knew started to help inform me. And so you may, even if your parents or you're not around, you might hopefully be able to talk to those who are around, those friends, those associates, those neighbors. You can also start to look at the things that maybe your family were into. Like my grandfather was a janitor, and he actually got an award for his janitorial work at the high school that my dad went to. And it's actually in a document in the Gary City Hall. Like, and there's this news article about him. And so, and I'm like, wow. So, you know, look, if you can't talk to people directly, look at newspapers, right? And see if anything was ever written about them, or talk to those friends, talk to those associates, those neighbors, anybody that you can. Study, you know, maybe where they worked or things like that, and see if you can get any more clues about those individuals that will help you as you move kind of down the line with your genealogical discoveries and pursuits.
Okay, thank you. We've got a question from Barbara. And it is, what was the app, Kayla, that you mentioned to record video? Like when you were talking about recording video or audio, if you want to go there.
So our FamilySearch resource that we have for recording audio would be the FamilySearch Memories app. There's an opportunity if you're interviewing someone, or it could even be yourself, where you get the app. It's free to record yourself. But for me, I am a Mac user with my computer. So I use the free application available, Photo Booth. And you can just record videos. Yeah.
Okay, so just to make sure everybody has that, got that. So if you've got a Mac, an iMac, or you know, Mac laptop, right, that Photo Booth program will let you do free videos right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect, super simple. Hey, Jonathan, I was curious. We were talking about this the other day. What, as you've gotten started with your genealogy, what has helped you?
Okay, so when I came into genealogy, I was so overwhelmed at first. It just like I saw this genealogy, this giant chart my uncle had done, which I'm so impressed by. But I thought, well, how can where do you start? And there were two things that really helped me. The first one, I had this great opportunity. I was working in downtown Salt Lake, and I was able to go to the family history library face to face. I was trying to track down where my great grandfather was from. And the librarians there, they helped me. I had this one thing, I'd found this one record of him. It was his World War II draft card, and it had his location, and like it said P.O. something, and there was just this terrible handwriting. Couldn't read it, and we couldn't find the city. Anyway, they helped me find the city, and that opened up that whole line. I found my grandfather's information all the way back to freed slaves, and it was just so inspiring for me. It really got me going. The other thing I'll say, if you're getting started, if you tried genealogy 10 years ago or 15 years ago or whatever, it's very different now. Like what FamilySearch offers, what Ancestry offers, what MyHeritage offers, there are so many records. Like if you can't talk to, you know, mom, dad, grandparents, they're not around, a lot of their records will be in one of these services. Like you'll probably find them on FamilySearch, and if not, you'll find them on Ancestry or MyHeritage. It's amazing. I was shocked.
I love this one comment from one of our viewers, June. She said, keep in mind that each child or sibling will remember something different about their parents, grandparents. And so I like that too, like get multiple sources and different stories, because everyone has a different perspective.
Jonathan,
great.
you reminded me, and you had the opportunity to come down to the Family History Library in Salt Lake City, and I kind of mentioned that earlier. Obviously, because of COVID restrictions, we're not open to the public. But one of the things that we've been trying to do to give others that same experience that you had, that kind of one-on-one touch and maybe to look at things, is we've started these virtual strategy research sessions. So where you can actually go online and book a time where you can meet with one of our reference, staff and research librarians there, and they will actually look at what you've put together. If you have a FamilySearch account and have a family tree, they'll take a look at that. They'll look at whatever records you want to submit, and then they'll actually spend 20 minutes with you, giving you, answering some questions or giving you some tips and tricks or pointing you to kind of where the next step of your research needs to go. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just so that people can see.
Awesome. Let me recap while you're pulling that up. So this is one of those hidden kind of blessings from COVID, like where before you had to go physically face to face to the library in many cases. Now
right.
you can have a free help online from a genealogist or someone who's got some experience in genealogy.
Absolutely. Amazing. And so it's this virtual research strategy sessions. This is on our FamilySearch wiki, and we'll put the link, make sure the link is in the comments of the Facebook Live, just so people have it and they can get here quickly. But if you did go to FamilySearch wiki and put virtual research strategy session or research session, you'll come to this page. And it really tells you what our sessions are. They're free virtual meetings designed to provide you with research guidance and all that kind of stuff, right? And they actually offer it in multiple languages, not just English, but also Spanish, also Chinese, and American Sign Language. We can do these sessions with you in these various languages. And it tells you kind of the booking process and the information that you'll have. If you're doing a DNA research strategy, they'll expand the time a little bit beyond 20 minutes to 40 minutes. And we ask, just because there'll probably be a flood of people who want to come on here, not to book more than one session in any given week. This isn't meant to be your one-on-one, long-term family history research help. I have lots of friends who are professional genealogists that would be willing to do that for you. But in this case, we want to point you to some of the resources we have available for free. And there's a booking page. So if you book your virtual research strategy session, you can do this here. Now, we're here talking obviously about Black History Month. And the question that I've gotten every time I share this is this okay for Black folks or African Americans? Are they going to be able to help me? And the answer is yes. I booked a session and got help by one of our research specialists. She specializes, she's an accredited genealogist that specializes in the Southern US, right where my people were. And she was able to give me help and help me, find additional records and give me some strategies. And so it's not just for African Americans, though, it's for anyone. Obviously, if you have questions, we'll do our best to try and support you and answer them. It's just one of these, like you said, Jonathan, it's a kind of carryover. It's one of those things that came out of COVID, is being able to work with people in this virtual environment and give them some of the help and assistance that they're looking for.
Okay, thank you. So we've got a couple of questions. Before we go to those, I want to make sure we're about half past the hour, so I want to make sure we're covering everything we want to. Do you want to talk to us, Thom, about the intermediate advanced things here? Talking about the digital bookshelf.
Oh yeah, so fun times like this. Again, all these things that we're doing during COVID, right? So one of the perks of working for the Family History Library and being at the first Family History Library is our book collection. Our book collection is second to none. There are other genealogy libraries out there that have very strong book collections, Allen County Public Library, for example, and things like that. But we have lots of books, but we realize that we also have taken the time to digitize hundreds of thousands of books, like just so many. And so we decided to put together, specifically as just a template and a test, books that might be helpful for African Americans in digital books that African Americans may want to look at. And we created what's called here the African American Digital Bookshelf. We'll again put the link in the Facebook chat so people can see. but this is, if you go on our wiki again and search, or even if you Google Family Search African American Digital Bookshelf, you'll land on this page. And what this page is kind of a list of curated list of accessible books that provide information on specific African American ancestors, historical context, and guidance to other resources you may use.
So,
And, yeah.
what are some different like types of books? Like if I've never looked at a digital book on African American genealogy or whatever, and this is my first time, like what types of things are we talking about here?
I would totally start with this first one at the top. We've arranged it by country, obviously US and what's general, but then it goes down by state. But it gives you things like a bibliography and guide to sources. So it points you to this specific digital book, will point you to another source that will help you in doing your research. So I'm just going to click on it here and pull up. Oh, I'm going to have to sign in here real quick. So I should have done this before we got online, but hopefully no one's stealing my password right now. But it will take you to this digital book by Kurt Witcher, actually, who's from the Allen County Public Library. And you can actually scroll through the various pages. You can zoom in on the book, but you can also scroll through the pages of the book here and see various, you can get more details on whatever it is the book has to offer. So like,
okay, so let me jump in for a second. So if you've never done this, a lot of the younger people have done this for college, but this is an actual book scanned in. You're seeing it online. I know many of the genealogists, this is old. It's old hat to see things scanned in, but if you've never done this before, this is an actual book. Somebody's scanned it, and you can go right through the pages from the convenience of your own home. How much is this, Tom? How much? I mean, is this expensive, or is this open to everybody?
Zero. As my mom used to say, free 88. Free nice. 88, right? Yeah, it costs nothing. You do need a Family Search account to access the Family Search books that are on here. And for some of the organizations, we've got books that are from Internet Archive, that are from Hadi Trust. We have one here from Daughters of the American Revolution, Google Books, anything that we've been able to acquire the rights to and digitize. And we've kind of put them in this list. Now, this list isn't exhaustive, but you may have to go to these other sites and they may ask you to create an account, things like that, to look at some of these other books. But we've curated this list in hopes that even if you're sitting in your pajamas at 2 a.m. and you're interested, hey, does Family Search have a book on my family? Or does Family Search have a book on this location? So let me go back here. For example, there's some, like for my family in Alabama, is huge. Like I've been looking through all the records in all the books that we have in Alabama, and here are interesting about late insurrectionary states. There's a congressional thing from 1879, and there's slavery in Auburn, Alabama that's here. And there's the
do you mind zooming in for just a little bit more for those of us who are a little bit older?
So here's like the Cyclopedia of Colored Baptists of Alabama, their leaders and their work, or the large slaveholders of the Deep South. This one on the Cyclopedia of Colored Baptists is at Internet Archive, but the large slaveholders of the Deep South is one that we have here at Family Search. And this is one where if you know that your family, you have enslaved ancestors that lived in Alabama, you might want to look at this book to see what kind of information might help you further in your research.
Okay, so let's pause for a second. Could we take a related question? We have a question that says, again, related to plantations. If our ancestors were plantation owners, the writer asks, what can I do to help others know who the people were on their lands?
Oh, this is a question I get all the time, and I appreciate people asking this. The one is tell everybody, right? In any way that you can. I think one of the fastest strategies, and particularly I get this by, my white friends who find out that their family had owned slaves and had plantation records of enslaved individuals. And what they can do is they can actually go on Facebook, for example, and join some of these groups of, some of these genealogy groups and say, hey, I've got papers from the Hairston plantation or from, the Harding plantation. Would any of you in these sites be interested in this? Or where do I put this? There's a project called Beyond Kin, Jonathan, that you're familiar with, that also where people can upload the names of enslaved people that they have from those various records and put them on Beyond Kin website.
And is their website? Is their website beyondkin.org?
Beyondkin.org, because for
Beyondkin.org.
licensing purposes, we can't show you that website, so I can't go there. But if someone wants to put in beyondkin.org in the comments, that's another site where you can upload. Afrogenius is another one. There's several of my genealogy friends that can probably chime in and point people to other sources of where people can post information that they find on their, if they have plantation records or they have information about enslaved individuals that their family maybe was involved in, they can submit those papers or reach out to a local genealogical society, a local historical society, a local library. All of them will take those kinds of things. And we have relationships with many of those. And hopefully we'll eventually get them to a point where they'll become accessible to more people through websites like FamilySearch and Ancestry and others.
Awesome. Thank you. So looking at this large list of books, if I've never looked at a genealogy-based book, how do I know where would I start on this list? You mentioned the bibliography, which sounds great. What's another way to kind of get started with this list?
By location, I think is the biggest thing, is you want to know kind of a date, the names, dates, and places where your ancestors were are the most helpful to get started. And so if you know that your family lived in Somerset County in Maryland, then this might be the book on Internet Archive that you want to look at, a listing of slaves and indentured servants in Somerset County, right? So you scroll down to Maryland, you'd come here, you'd click on this book and see if it has any kind of information. So by location is really how we've had it organized to start. This is kind of our first draft of this, and we know it's not complete. And so we've allowed if you have, for example, if you find an error for some reason, you can submit an error, or if you want to suggest a book that's digitized that we could have rights to, you can send that to us and we can add it here. So we know that this is going to continually be growing and we want people to come back, but I'd start first at the location. Anything you can do to kind of narrow down the place and the time that your ancestor was will make books and digitized books particularly helpful and meaningful in your research.
Okay. Awesome. Well, so up to this point, we've covered quite a bit of ground. We've been talking about what FamilySearch is doing for Black History Month, a few things that we do. Personally, we've talked about the Black History Month hub page, the Getting Started guide, the African American digital bookshelf. We're coming to the upcoming and recent product releases. Before we go to that, is there anything else either of you had wanted to cover for intermediate or advanced researchers?
I would also point people to our FamilySearch Help Center. We have a learning center that has information there. I was asked to go present to an African American Genealogical Society in Houston in April, and I'm going to do that. And the presentation I'm using is already on FamilySearch, on African American resources on FamilySearch.org. And so we have a lot of content in our Help Center and our Learning Center, videos that you can look at and classes that are done, not just by FamilySearch, but by other people as well that's there. But we're going to be infusing that with a bunch of content from RootsTech Connect. Which I don't know if we're ready to go there yet, but Kayla, you mentioned it earlier, but this year's RootsTech Connect is going to be off the chain. Like if you are Black, if you're from anywhere in the world, we got something for you with RootsTech Connect. Literally thousands of classes overall, covering every corner of the globe. What did I hear? 234,000 people have already registered for this free virtual event. 202 countries and territories. There aren't even 202 countries. But when you add territories that people are from that are joining this RootsTech Connect, it is going to be bananas. And it's something that we've never done to this scale before, but we are so excited. And particularly me and our team has been involved in the content for people of African descent with Kayla said, over 40 classes dealing with Africa and the African diaspora. We have classes on the continent of Africa that'll be taught in 4 languages. English, French, Portuguese, and Malagasy, right? Like that will be teaching you research techniques and how to get started. We've got people that are in London that are teaching classes. We got people that are in South Africa. We got people in the Caribbean teaching classes, obviously the United States. We got our girl Sharon Morgan as our keynote speaker. like it just, RootsTech Connect will be just phenomenal. And so those who came today wanting to know what one thing I might want to do, or one thing I participate in RootsTech Connect. It's free online. Just go to rootstech.org, sign up, and then you'll see we're getting ready to release all the classes. We don't have everything on the website quite yet, but we're getting ready to release all the classes. You will have a great experience navigating and getting to the content that you want. You'll be able to create watch lists. So there's no way you're going to be able to watch everything over the course of the 3 days. We're running 24/7 for 3 days. No way you're going to be able to catch all that content, right? But it's going to be available. The majority of it will be available for at least a year afterwards. And a lot of that content we'll be putting into the Learning Center on FamilySearch.org, but will also remain on RootsTech.org for you to come back and look at later. And so if I can't stress enough. Y'all see I'm excited. I see the smiles on your faces. That just RootsTech's been I've been here 7 years. This is, I've loved RootsTech, but we're doing something we've never ever done before. That's going to be so empowering and so enabling for so many people around the world.
Okay, so if our audience, like this year, we're having a ton of people who have never gone to RootsTech before. Just a quick overview, Kayla, what is RootsTech? Why are we calling it RootsTech Connect this year? Can you just give us a little overview on RootsTech?
Sure. So RootsTech is a conference that FamilySearch holds and sponsors every year, focused on genealogy. So you'll usually hear from keynote speakers on the main stage, and then you'll get to participate in different classes. And it's typically always been in person in Salt Lake City. But because of COVID and the pandemic, they've mixed it up this year, and it is all online and virtual. And so that's why it's called RootsTech Connect. The chance that we all globally have a chance to participate in this for free. And so just like Thom, I'm so excited. The fact that we have over 40 classes to help people of African descent or those that are interested in African American or African heritage genealogy is so awesome. I am so excited to watch some of these classes.
That was awesome.
I'm just scrolling down the page on rootstech.org right now, so you can see we just announced all our the final batch of all our keynote speakers. I mentioned Sharon Morgan, but Francesco Latoro, we've got Sinitra Sarkar, we've got here's a Uruguayan professional footballer that's on here, Eric Avari, if y'all know The Chosen, he's from he's been in that. Astrid Tumenez, the first first female president of Utah Valley University. Just all this, and then these virtual connections, like it says, at your fingertips with keynote speakers, classes from around the globe, connect with family anywhere. We've done this relatives at RootsTech, which is like a really fun way to see how you're connected. And if you've got family there, we've already started seeding that now. And you can actually participate virtually with relatives at RootsTech and see how many people that are attending RootsTech have your last name, for example, or how many family members have registered for RootsTech, and you can already meet cultural activities. I mean, it's just a ton of stuff. There is something for everyone, as the website says.
So I went to RootsTech last year for the first time, and I was surprised. Like, my assumption was that it was 100% genealogy focused, like maybe heavy in the research side of it. But there's such a wide range. So like last year they had for anybody who wanted it, especially like for young people, there was a night specifically geared towards younger folks, and they had VR, so you could look up wherever you lived. Like I looked up my dad's home on VR. I saw his truck. This is from before my dad had passed away. It was such a nostalgic moment.
Cool.
And then I was also surprised to see last year we had a famous football player, very, very well-known football player, as one of our keynote speakers. He was awesome.
Emmitt Smith.
Emmitt Smith.
Go Cowboys. Stephen Valentine. Anyway, shout out to our
Awesome. Well, in our last 10 minutes or so, let's talk about some of the other things that's coming. So RootsTech is coming. some of these are a little bit down into the details. So maybe we start with the 49 record collections, and then we'll go to a couple things that I can share. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
Okay, who wants to take the 49 record collections?
You want to go, Kayla? You want me to?
You take it, Thom.
I'll take it. Okay, so we'll go back and share here. I was on RootsTech. I got to go back. Oh, this was the getting started guide, by the way, if you wanted to see that. The 10 steps to reclaiming your African roots that we talked about earlier. Here's the actual guide and the different steps. Write down what you know and find artifacts around your home and things like that. And again, that came from our All About Black History hub page. But one of the features we did last year, Kayla, was great. We created this video on this whole idea, 29 ways in 29 days of Black history, you know, being able to find your own roots. And so we created this little widget, if you will, a search widget that allows you to search record collections. We added to the collections from last year. So now there's a total of 68. I think he said 49 is 68 record collections.
68. We'll get that right.
That contain information on individuals of African descent in the United States. So we focused here on the US and we plugged them all here. So like I said earlier, what are the key things you need to know when doing genealogy? Names, dates, and places. And so you can look here, you know, if you want to, you can look for Tom Baines in Alabama in let's go 1895 and see what this kind of comes up. It goes into FamilySearch on the back end. Do
it again. Do it one more time.
Okay, one more time. And I'm having internet connection problems at home, so I apologize. Y'all have probably seen stuff be slow to load and all this kind of stuff. But here is different. So we found 15 collections that had, out of the 68, that had information on someone with the first name Tom, last name Baines, or some variant that's close to that. In genealogy, we know close spelling counts, and so it's not always going to be exact. But looking in Alabama in 1895, we looked at these 15 collections, and we found 140 results. We're displaying here the first 1 to 20 of them, but you can display more. And here you can see, you know, there's information on individuals named Tom Bain or Tom Baines that may be connected to Alabama in some way. Here's New York municipal deaths. Here's the 1860 slave schedule from the US. Here's Texas voter records, where this Thomas Bain, or maybe Bain, you have to go and look at the record itself. You may be able to determine more information. And so that's just a fun little way. We initially started this actually from discoverfreedmen.org when we did the Freedmen's Bureau project, because we had 14 different record collections that people could search. And so we made this like search widget, just like we have here. And we've carried that over and now are using it here, obviously for Black History Month and African Heritage records, but we're also using it for records from other countries around the world as well.
And again, if someone has just joined us and they want to use this search, how would they get here? Just one more.
So the URL is familysearch.org/Black History Month. This is on our All About Black History Month page. And as you scroll down, you'll see information about Black History Month, RootsTech Connect, about getting started with your family history, and searching these records, as well as some of our blog posts. So here you can search these records, these different collections, these 68 collections. Our team's been working. Woo! Boy,
that's awesome.
It's a ton of folks behind us. We may be the front people talking on Facebook Live right now, but there are so many people who are dedicated to making the experience for people of African descent and those researching those of African descent a much better, richer, deeper experience of discovery and connection. We're committed as an organization to this, and this is just one of the manifestations of that.
Awesome. So in our last few minutes here, let me also share a couple of other quick updates. So one is the US censuses. So the ability to search on race has been added. That's live now. Let me share my screen. This is just a great thing if you're someone who has, you know, maybe you're in a situation where you have a common last name and you're on FamilySearch and you're searching under records. Like I have relatives who are Smiths, and they live in a big city. So if I'm searching for Smith, you know, and I'm searching in New York City, that's a tough list to search through. But now I can filter on race. So I can say, oh, well, my people were white, or they're black, or mulatto, or so on and so forth. And you can see the different races here that you can search through. And so to get to this, so this isn't on every record set, but on the U.S. censuses, you can now search on race. So that's a key feature. To get there, you're going into FamilySearch, into records. You'll see this nice map here, and just below that, you can type in the United States Census. Sorry, I'm having trouble typing while you're all watching, but the U.S. Census.
Yeah, we know how to spell. It's okay, Jonathan. We know you know how to spell, brother.
Okay, it's in there. It's in there. The other thing I just briefly want to mention, I'm going to go a little quickly as we're coming to the end of our time. So if you're from Africa or have relatives from Africa, FamilySearch has undertaken a massive project. It's a really beautiful project. It's called the Oral Genealogy Project, and there are people going from village to village and country to country in Africa, meeting with families and village elders and writing down their spoken genealogies. And this has been going on for some time. There's new things coming for this, but I want you to see what exists now. This is in our genealogy section. Again, you go to FamilySearch, you're clicking on search, you're going into genealogies, and we have 20 million different names of folks, names of people whose information was gathered in these oral genealogies. The oral genealogies currently are mostly from Africa, from West Africa in Ghana, some in Nigeria, and then there's some other oral genealogies from different parts of the Polynesian islands and so forth. And so I just wanted to make sure you saw those. Again, oral genealogies, if you know people from Africa or any of the Polynesian cultures, they might find those spoken genealogies here. Okay.
That's
awesome.
We got a whole nother program we need to talk about at some point about what we're doing with oral histories and oral genealogy collection, Jonathan. It would take an hour, and people would be so amazed.
It's a lot.
Oh, it's amazing. It's absolutely off the charts. Okay, well, so we're wrapping up. Kayla, any parting words? And we'll just go around the room, and any parting words from each of us?
Parting words. Come to RootsTech. Register for RootsTech. Take part in all of the classes, participate with the main stage, and see our keynotes. And I guess when it comes to family history, just keep going. There are weeks and months where sometimes you don't find anything and there's a dry spell. And then there are other weeks where you found over 200 of your ancestors and are putting them in the tree. So just keep going. There's so many different resources. Continue to watch these live streams because I know you'll be able to find information to help you find your family.
Thank you. Thom?
RootsTech. RootsTech Connect, but also take advantage. We shared with you a lot of things, and I couldn't echo, any more loudly what Kayla said. We publish millions of records every day. Literally every day we're updating our databases with millions of records. And so if you don't find what you're looking for today, come back and look tomorrow. And look next week and look after that. But come to RootsTech Connect, be a part of what we're doing there. Let that be a good jumping off, part for you, and continue on. We pointed you to lots of resources. Hopefully you've got the links. This live stream will stay up on our Facebook page. So those watching on Facebook will be able to come back. And if they want to take advantage of the virtual research strategy sessions, or if they want to look at the African American Digital Bookshelf, or if they want to register for RootsTech Connect, the links are all in the comments there. But we want to make sure that you know that there's resources for you. It may be a struggle, and there's no bones about it. For many African Americans, research gets a little bit difficult, but we're working with so many different groups and organizations. In fact, next week's Facebook Live will be with African American genealogical societies and groups that are out there that you can join, that you can learn from. We're all supporting and trying to help each other discover our ancestors and be able to connect with our homeland. So stay connected.
What time is next week's What time is next week's?
Next week's at 3 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. Eastern time. So
On
same
February
time,
10th.
PM.
February 10th.
10th. Come back. I'll be on here again with my craziness and virtual backgrounds and all kinds of stuff with four of my friends from the genealogy community. I'm so excited to connect with everybody next week.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Wendy.
Jonathan.
Yeah, thanks,
My pleasure.
Jonathan.
Great
It's
to,
fun.
this has just been a great opportunity. And again, what a wonderful thing to be engaged in. This is a great way to find meaning, even during quarantine, you know, to research your family and get to know your own family better. Thanks for joining us.
Happy Black History Month,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye.